Thank you. Thank you, folks. Welcome to the Roland GRIMES Not Just Sports Entertainment Show once again. You may notice that I got a little slimmer, actually, and I doubled myself with these two fine-looking young men. To your right and my left is Mr. Tyoka Jackson, who spent, I believe, 12 years
That's right.
in the National Football League, playing with the Detroit Lions, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and anyone else?
St. Louis Rams.
And St. Louis Rams. How could I forget? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Tyoka Jackson.
Thank you.
As much as I hate to admit it, Tyoka Jackson is also a Penn State Nittany Lion. And I hate to admit it because we lost to them for like 87 years in a row before we finally beat them, just before Tyoka's arrival. One heck of a football player and quite a humanitarian. Tyoka will tell you a little bit about his dossier. But he also hails from Bishop McNamara High School here in the Washington, D.C. area. And along with him, on your left and my right, is another Bishop McNamara High School graduate who played football for the Maryland University Terrapins. And he is currently, or this past season, played with the British Columbia Lions of the Canadian Football League. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Cameron Chism. All right, folks, we're going to jump right into it. This month is Black History Month, and we're dealing with some issues, concerns, questions, comments about the black athlete in modern day society. I'm going to open this up with some things that are on our minds right now. Tyoka, you and I talked briefly offline, and I wanted to tell these folks some real in-depth stuff. You and I agreed on some of that conversation, so we're going to get right at it right now. One of my former teammates at Syracuse University played a couple of years with the Buffalo Bills and Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm going to just throw this quick inquisition to you and tell me what your first response is. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, we pulled up into the parking lot where the players are. We saw a Ford Mustang, a Suburban, we saw El Camino, and we saw a pickup truck. Who were they?
Those are the white guys on the team. Those are the white guys, their rides.
I saw a Ferrari Testarossa, I saw a Lamborghini, I saw a Cadillac Escalade tricked out to the nines, and I saw a Porsche Carrera 944, whatever that is. Who do they belong to?
Those are the black players. Rolling strong, man. And they probably all had 20s, 22s, 24s, the whole nine, right? So those are the black players.
Now, he told me about one particular player whose name shall not be mentioned, who would reach into a basket, throw 5 keys up, and whichever key he caught, that's the car he was going to drive that day.
That wasn't me.
Right. And now one of those cars costs less than $150,000. Tyoka, help me understand why.
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunately, you know, for us is we're culture that consumes. You know, unfortunately, we as black folks historically have taken our money and spent it, and that's what we do. That ball till you fall mentality that you hear young people talking about. And I got caught up in it early in my career. I remember being in the locker room, getting ready to board the bus to go fly and play a game, and I'm sitting in a custom-made suit, you know, 20 whatever 100 was, you know, Everett Hall right here, you know, and I'm dropping 2,500 in a suit. And I'm looking at the guys, you know, who were making, you know, some of the white guys were making double, triple what I was making, and they were wearing suits right off the rack. And I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, like, this is silly, you know. I mean, so that was kind of my epiphany where I realized that, you know, this was really not smart. You know, once you spend it, it's gone. My dad used to say a fool and his money will soon part, and I found myself being a fool. So that was, you know, that was my moment. I need to stop doing that, and you know, and they had put that money to work for me because it wasn't going to last for long. NFL means not for long. So.
Cameron, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
In your most recent experience, has things changed much?
No, they haven't really changed. I spent some time with the Indianapolis Colts. I'm sure everyone in here heard of Andrew Luck. Just to piggyback off what Tyoka was saying, you know, I guess the Caucasian athlete, you know, Andrew Luck, an example was his, you know, his truck was if he was riding, you know, down Central Avenue, you wouldn't even know it was Andrew Luck. He had some no-name brand truck, but he was, you know, probably top 3 paid on the Indianapolis Colts. So that's just an example to piggyback off what Tyoka was saying.
Now, is there, all right, let's analyze this a little bit, and I'm actually going to open it up on the floor for questions. You just raise your hand if you have a comment or question, and just bring it while we go into it. Now, I have my ideas of where some of that starts, but more importantly, you have at least 4 years to prepare in college for life after college football, pro football, if you're fortunate enough to go there, right?
Correct.
During that 4 years of college, why aren't we getting prepared for making better decisions economically once we get into the not for long league?
That's a very good question. You know, I just think that, you know, we can spend a whole hour talking about college and you know, really what their jobs are. You know, I went to, you know, school I'm very proud of, and, you know, I think our coach cared a lot for us, Joe Paterno, but honestly, you know, that getting us prepared for the NFL and what comes with it wasn't really a focus of his. And so while we did have a guy come in, we had Matt Millen come in and talk to us one time about the league and what to expect. I mean, you couldn't get it all in one session. I mean, there's so many different things that come at you as a professional athlete, and football in particular, because it's the country's #1 sport. It's so many things that come at you. You can't really, one session won't do it. And to the NFL's credit, they have a rookie symposium, and that's like a 4-day weekend, and they do a good job of exposing. But even in that 4-day weekend, you can't get someone prepared for a huge life change like that. So it really, the type of values you need to deal with what comes at you, that all starts at home, to be quite honest with you.
A good late great friend of mine, Eddie Moss, played basketball at Syracuse University. He said to me on a number of occasions that sports is a microcosm of society. So as we're watching NFL players spend their money, I noticed that it parallels what I see in Washington, D.C. every day in terms of our expenditure appearing to be very near or surpasses our income. What is it about the African American individual that you believe makes us want to spend our money beyond our means to impress whom and why?
I'd probably say, I know a lot of my friends, I know y'all know what's coming. These rappers out here, I guess people try to keep up with them. They see them driving these cars or wearing all these chains and, all the jewelry, all the Jordan. So I guess it's just an image. They try to keep up with those guys, and that's all I really,
Right.
witnessed.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it goes way back. I mean, it's so deep. I think really it's sort of a slave mentality where we're trying to chase something that's not really real. I think we're trying to, so many of us are trying to grab at something that's always going to be out of our reach, rather than, working on our character. We try to show wealth as opposed to build it. And one person once said, a former teammate of mine, that money makes you more of what you already are.
Wow.
And so people talk about, money change you and this and that. I really don't believe that. I think it makes you more of what you already were.
Just more zeros behind it.
There you go. And so if you were a jerk before you got paid, you're a bigger jerk. I mean, if you were a very humble and caring person who helped people before you got paid, you're going to be more of that. So, and everything in between. So I get it. I think it all comes back to what we teach, the value systems we teach to our kids, because, we don't know who's going to hit the lottery and become a professional athlete, or hit the lottery and win money, or become a doctor or a lawyer. We don't know it. I got, really young kids. I don't know exactly what my daughter's going to be. She's 4. I don't know what she's going to be, but if I give her the values that are going to carry, it won't matter. She'll be great at whatever it is, and she'll understand that, materialism doesn't make her who she is.
Okay, here at Everlasting Life, they play a video every once in a while, and I sit here and watch it, and they talk about that. They talk about the basic animal's instinct is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And right now, as I'm going through my transformation as a human being, it's very painful, and I actually want to stop, and I want to pursue pleasure as opposed to pain. Well, when they do this particular caricature, they show a shark, and they say basically a shark, being the most primitive of animals, has 2 basic instincts. One is to eat, and the other is to get laid. So what happens from that is human beings, the male species especially, aren't really much further up the food chain than the primitive shark in some ways. I'm the first to admit it. And the brothers in here who are of courage will admit it also. So what happens is when we purchase these trappings of success and we show it visibly, because it doesn't really matter whether your money is with Morgan Stanley and a bunch of funds, or whether your money is riding around town for everybody to see. Only when it's riding around town for everybody to see, there is a chance that we're going to either attract more money or we're going to attract more sex. Now, if you're already playing pro football, what is it and why is it do we have to attract more money and more sex?
You think I'm gonna touch that? I'm gonna get this to a young guy right here.
I was hoping you would cover that.
You in it right now, go ahead.
Can you simplify that question a little bit?
All right, so here's the deal, man. Is there a culture in pro sports, especially among black athletes, to pursue pleasure in all of its forms as often and as, how should I say it, as sustainable as possible while we're playing ball, because we know once it's over, it's over?
Let me help you out.
Yes.
I mean, first of all, you know, professional athletes are generally young. How old are you, Ken?
23.
23. So you got to look at it in perspective. I mean, he's 23 years old, right? So he's not going to be, hopefully, I would be more mature at my age at 42 than he is at 23, right? So, you know, you got to cut some people some slack when they're dealing with these things, because everyone should be allowed to grow up. Unfortunately, he is growing up on a stage where when he makes certain mistakes or does certain things, people find out about it, right? So you can't you know, over analyze and go too far with this thing, because you got to allow some people to grow up. And unfortunately, we know that a lot of our young men grow up without male role models. So now a lot of us don't have the role models that we should have. So we now get money and now have more freedom, and so the ability to make mistakes is even, you know, growing. I was fortunate. I had my dad, and still do, my entire life. So for me, it was a little bit different, but I saw a lot of my teammates, you know, it wasn't. And so I kind of felt sorry for them as I watched them, you know, try to grow up and learn how to be a man, because they didn't learn it at home. So, so there is a perspective you got to take that say, you know, you got to let these kids grow up too, and cut them some slack and allow them to go through all the growing pains that every person is going through in life, but there aren't cameras and newspaper reporters right there to catch every single misstep.
Wow. Anyone have a comment or follow up to that one? Feel free. Okay. Now, as we move through this, Tyoka, Cam, we know that there are situations where some of those decisions that we make early on now, because of the arena that we're in, can have such a costly effect that we can't recover from it. And as you mentioned earlier about that male influence, and you talked about being grounded, etc. When you get into the NFL, do you find that there are guys, in your experience, did you find that there were guys readily around who wanted to mentor you, or for the most part they didn't want to have anything to do with you because they're worried about you taking their job?
Yes. When I first was a rookie, I was with the coach for a little bit, and I guess nowadays they have a guy who's in charge of character ed. So as soon as you come in, they have a guy who just takes the rookies under his wings for like the whole summer, and every day you're spending time with him. He's talking to you about money management and consequences of doing all type of things, and things that will help you I guess for your rookie season. So basically he just takes you under the wings and shows you right from wrong, and the consequences, just make sure you go down the right path.
My experience is, that was with the coach, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they're an excellent organization, and it really comes down to the organization. Really, football really is a people business. It's not even X's and O's like most people think. It's about people. And so the best organizations, they set up a system where, the young players are mentored by, someone in the front office and also someone on the team. Not every team is like that. This whole Richie Incognito bullying thing that happened with the Miami Dolphins. He was a rookie in St. Louis when I was there, and we didn't do that to him. We had a culture where our older players took care of our younger players and showed them the way. Certainly we teased them, and they carried our gear off the practice and all that, but there was no, the vile stuff that we heard about and read about in Miami. That didn't happen. So it didn't happen because the organization wouldn't have stood for it, and our leadership wouldn't have stood for it in the locker room. So every team's a little different, the best teams, really, who you see win year in and year out, they take the time to really nurture the actual men in the locker room, especially the young players, and help teach them. And as I got older, I really took great pride in doing that, because when I got in the league, when I first broke in with Atlanta, I had really good people, Jumpy Gathers and Chuck Smith and Chris Dolman, who really took me under their wing and told me, hey, don't go broke, leave the game without debt, you know, really take care of your family, but learn how to say no. All these things, you know, I was taught, and I got lucky. And so it really comes down to the organization.
Okay. Now, as a last question for you guys before we go on to the next part, Ty, I was going to ask you about the Super Bowl, but I'm going to put a little different twist to the question, or actually to the subject matter. To me, I just had a glimpse of the new NFL, and I didn't talk to you about this off camera, but I just want to get your response to it right off the cuff. It was black, it was young, it was fast, it was violent, it was also very, very inexpensive. I believe that Peyton Manning's yearly salary probably eclipses the entire salary of the entire defense of the Seattle Seahawks. They were 5th and 6th round draft picks and a bunch of free agents. And most of them are under 3-year contracts. And that in 3 years, typically I think back in the day, NFL players were pension eligible after their 4th year. So those 3-year contracts, and then what we expect to see after that 36 months is damn near the entire Seattle Seahawks football team is going to turn over. Is that an accurate perception? Is it way off? How close am I?
Yeah, I mean, that's really, that's going to determine whether this dynasty that they keep throwing around is really going to happen. They're setting themselves up for a dynasty because of everything you just mentioned. They're very inexpensive right now, and with very shrewd cap management, they can remain that way and remain very, very good. But there's going to be some very tough decisions that are going to be made. The players that we're getting to know now in Seattle will be there, another 1 or 2, but some of them will be gone. And you can take a look at Marshawn Lynch as one of the guys that, you know, he's going to take up a lot of cap space as he gets older. Running backs really age quickly, and so there's going to be some real tough decisions that are going to be made. But yes, you hit it on the head. They have a chance to be a dynasty, and they have a chance to be really good for the next 2 or 3 because they built through the draft with very young players, and they made some really smart moves, and they created a culture. So just like New England Patriots did, once you create a culture, you can turn over your roster and still be good. You see the Steelers do it a lot. You see, again, the Patriots do it. And the reason is because they have very strong ownership, committed ownership, and very good head coaches who create a culture. And so the names on the back of the jersey will change, but the actual performance won't. So we'll see really how good that Seattle organization is. Paul Allen, you know, Microsoft money. We'll see Pete Carroll, how great he really is, because winning the second one and the third one, those are always much harder to do.
Gotcha. We're going to take a quick station break for about 67 seconds. We're going to bring up Mr. Glenn Harris, and I'm going to open the next set of questions with some discussion about another defensive back who plays in the NFL, some of the Richard Sherman conversation. All right? Sit tight. We'll be right back.